Welcome. If you're here for an awesome experience, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up to show some love. Leave a comment below and let me know what you're excited to see or share your thoughts along the way. Exciting content is coming your way, so make sure you're subscribed. Let's kick things off and stay awesome. Growing up, my grandmother had one strict rule at the dinner table. Always leave one bite on your plate. It didn't matter if it was rice, soup, or even a single piece of bread. No meal was ever to be finished completely. I asked her why once when I was about 8. She just shook her head, her wrinkled fingers tightening around her spoon. You must always leave something behind, or he'll think you're inviting him in. I pressed her for more, but she refused to explain. The way her voice wavered, the way her eyes darted toward the darkened windows of our small home. It was enough to shut me up. I assumed he was just some folklore monster, like the Aswang or Manananggal, something made up to scare kids into obedience. But even my parents obeyed the rule. My father, who never believed in ghost stories, always made sure to leave one last bite, so I obeyed too. That was years ago. I live alone now, in a small apartment in the city, far from the quiet countryside where I grew up. Life gets busy. Old habits fade. Last week, I had a long day at work and came home exhausted. I microwaved some leftover chicken and rice, then plopped onto my couch to eat in front of the TV. I was so distracted that I didn't even realize I had cleared my plate. At that moment, something shifted. It was subtle, just a strange crawling sensation down my spine. Not fear exactly, but wrongness, like an unseen weight pressing against my shoulders. I laughed at myself. I was being ridiculous. I put my plate in the sink, brushed my teeth, and went to bed. 3:12 a.m. A sound woke me soft at first, then growing louder. Silverware clinking against porcelain. My stomach tightened. My apartment was silent otherwise. The sound was coming from the kitchen. My breath hitched as I sat up. I told myself it was nothing, the sink settling, my mind playing tricks, but something deep inside me knew better. I climbed out of bed, stepping carefully over the creaky floorboards. The apartment was cold, much colder than it should have been. I reached the kitchen doorway and peered inside. The air left my lungs. My plate was on the counter, the same one I had emptied hours ago, and sitting in the very center was a single bite of food. I hadn't put it there. A chill ran down my spine. I turned to check the front door, but it was still locked. The windows too. My apartment was empty, or so I thought. Then I heard it, the sound of chewing, wet, smacking, hungry, and breathing. Hot, damp breath brushed the back of my neck. I turned so fast I nearly tripped, but there was nothing behind me. The light flickered. The air grew thick, suffocating. The smell hit me next, rotting meat. And then a voice, low, whispering, right beside my ear. You forgot my share. My entire body locked up. The room around me warped. No, not the room, the air itself. The shadows in the corners seemed deeper now, stretching toward me like grasping fingers, and then pressure. A deep, sickening weight pressed into my stomach. I gasped, my hands flying to my abdomen, fingers, long, yellowed, jagged. They weren't cutting, they were pulling. Something warm and wet spilled down my legs. I choked, my vision tilting, my body convulsing, the fingers inside me twisted, yanking something loose, something important. I collapsed, my head striking the floor. The world blurred, swimming in and out of focus. My breaths came in ragged, wheezing gasps. I tried to move, but the fingers still held me, caressing, exploring, taking. Through my fading vision, I saw it. A shape impossibly tall, its limbs too long, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. Its eyes black voids, hollow and dripping, stared down at me. It smiled. And then darkness. I woke up in my bed. Sunlight streamed through my window. My heart pounded, my body drenched in sweat. I sat up too fast, nearly throwing up from the nausea. My hands flew to my stomach. No blood, no wounds, just a dream. Just a horrible, horrible dream. I let out a shaky breath and swung my legs over the bed. My body felt wrong. Weak, empty, like something inside me was missing. I forced myself to stand and walk to the kitchen. Maybe some water would help. Maybe I froze. My plate was still on the counter, and on it, sitting neatly in the center, a single bite of food. The apartment filled with a sound, a horrible wet chuckle. And behind me, a whisper so close I felt the breath in my ear. You should have left me more.